Welcome back to part number 2 of What If Darth Vader Upgraded His Suit. Thank you to those of you who watched the first part of this video. To recap what happened in that part if you haven't seen it, Vader disobeyed the orders of Sidious by travelling to an Old Republic medical station, then Kamino to build his new suit. Returning to Coruscant, Vader's restored potential gave him the confidence to duel Sidious, and claiming the throne of the Sith Lord, he wasn't satisfied with any of the Inquisitors as his new student, so is now travelling off-world to search for someone worthy of a place at his side. As Vader engaged the autopilot system aboard his ship, his guide was not a predetermined set of coordinates, but his new and enhanced connection to the Force. Once Vader retracted himself from his intense Sith meditation, he found that the ship had left the core worlds in Coruscant, and he was heading for a maze of hyperspace lanes, and buried amongst them was the world of Bracca. A historical account from the onboard database revealed that the world had been the subject of a battle at the end of the Clone War that had been won by the 13th Battalion, but as the world moved into the sight of the Sith Lord's increased vision, he could only see the remnants of what had been a destructive battle between the Jedi and the clones. Vader was disgusted at the status of the Jedi had yet to be confirmed, but the Force had not brought him to Bracca for such insignificance, so he glided onto one of the platforms, which had been used by the local guild to bring scrap to be broken down and sold. Whilst word did not reach the guild about the new leader of the galaxy, the patrolling guild members did not hesitate in moving to one side, as Vader marched down from the ship, took several menacing steps forward, then locked his head onto one of the abandoned Venator-class Star Destroyers. Without his new suit, the journey to his target would have needed a land speeder, but now he moved from one abandoned destroyer to another, with the cold elegance of a Force ghost. Finding the bridge he had locked his focus on, Vader used the Force to sweep all of the irrelevant debris, and found a box of cylindrical data devices known as computer spikes, then used them to infiltrate the ship's database to find a list of missing Jedi. As he started to scroll through the missing Masters and Knights, he received a transmission from Governor Williff Tarkin on Kamino, who had been searching for him since the fall of Sidious and the interrogation of Mas Amedda. Whilst Vader tolerated the Admiral's more active method to fighting the war during his former life as a Jedi, Vader saw him as a tool for Sidious, and sneered beneath the layers of his helmet as he heard that an elite squad of clones was arriving on the world for their own mission. This had obviously been a continuation of Sidious's Order 66, but given his enjoyment in killing the Jedi, he now felt insulted as someone else was taking his job, and wanted to take the mission for himself. As Vader attached the data cylinder to his belt, he saw 3 new class attack shuttles hover overhead, then descend into the nearby wreckage of a Venator-class Star Destroyer. The Sith Lord followed the elite squad from a distance, before hearing the names of the Bad Batch through the comm chatter, and he sensed a chance to find the Jedi he wanted. Lifting a small segment of a destroyer's bridge, Vader threw it to the other side of the graveyard, and its landing caused a small crate of photonic charges to detonate, and Crosshair's squad thought it had been caused by the clones. Vader's mask hid his amusement at how he had tolerated such inferior beings as Jedi, who had been deceived with such ease, and he decided to break the clone's initial target into 2. Vader heard shouts of fear in the Force, and used his agility to move to the broken artillery deck. Through the falling embers of a once heroic destroyer, it was Echo and Tech that had the misfortune of facing Vader, and the Sith Lord showed no signs of his connection with the clones during the Clone War by lifting them into the air. Vader used the dark side ability of Force Invasion to discover that the clones had recently been in contact with Commander Rex, as he released them to ignite his lightsaber. As the Sith Lord is about to draw the clones into the scalding blade of plasma, he is thrown back by Crosshair's elite squad, who had discovered Vader's distraction and had launched a crate of thermal detonators between Vader and the clones. As Echo and Tech ran back into the broken half of the Venator, Vader casually held his hand in front of him and deflected all of the shots from the clones. One of the clones foolishly told Vader that they did not accept him as the new leader of their squad, and the Sith Lord reacted by clenching his fist, breaking the neck of the clones, and squeezing all life out of him as he fell to the floor. Crosshair gnawed at his toothpick as if nothing had occurred, and gesticulated to his clones to terminate the traitors rather than attack Vader, as he was a good soldier who followed orders. The Sith Lord had achieved his goal on Bracca, and thought it was a waste of his valuable time if he chased after the fugitives, so he walked back to his ship and ordered the remainder of the guard on Coruscant to hunt for the fugitive clone CT-7567. At the footsteps of the decaying Jedi home, Commander Fox knew that Rex would be difficult to catch, but with an obsession to serve Darth Vader, he decided to take one of the beaten low-altitude assault gunships, and with several of the Coruscant Guard, set course for the outer rim world of Utapau. Eventually arriving on the world rebuilding, after its war that it didn't even want, Fox and a small band of clones are greeted by the ground clone commander Cody. The de facto leader of the 212th Battalion had already finished his work clearing the sub-levels of the city, and hearing for the search of Commander Rex, he turned away from Fox and back to the direction of Oddball. For the first time since the execution of Order 66, Cody started to fight against his control chip, as unlike the traitorous Jedi Kenobi, Cody still viewed Rex as a clone and a brother. As he struggled to fight against his programming, the Coruscant Guard looked bemused at his behaviour, and Cody scurried to one of the lower levels, claiming he was unwell. The clone commander crawled and struggled his way to a holotable, which was in a secret room that General Grievous had used, and found an old code that he knew Rex would use. As time seemed to be in a standstill, Cody could hear Fox in the background of his obscured hearing, as the flickering figure of Rex finally greeted him. The hooded Rex looked visibly weathered from Order 66, but his somber demeanour changed when he saw the fight within Cody, and he instructed him to find a way to hide from the chasing clones, whilst Rex travelled to Utapau. Aboard his BTLB Y-Wing bomber, Rex knew that saving Cody was an enormous risk, but having seen so many clones fall, he could not let Cody join the graves, and using his vast knowledge of all the hyperspace lanes, he made it to the outer rim largely untroubled. But as he entered Utapau's system, he knew that something was amiss, and as he glanced at the onboard radar, a large fleet was closing in on his location. Rex knew that he was being caught by Fox's forces, so tilted his controls downwards, and the bomber dived downwards as well, before Rex chose the rim of the sinkhole to rest the ship. Silently exiting the Y-Wing, Rex crouched onto his elbows and used his macro binoculars to find a signal from Cody, and saw he had moved closer to the surface, but was limited in his movement by the influence of his control chip. To avoid the clones led by Fox, Rex used an ascension cable to slide down the sinkhole, using the cover of the levels in the buildings to hide himself from view. Arriving at the 10th level, he saw Cody crawling onto the floor, next to a number of the clone helmets of the 212th Battalion, and Rex assured Cody that he would soon be relieved of the suffering. Dragging the struggling Cody to a hidden stretch in the vicinity, the former clone also had the foresight to send the native Varactyls to cause chaos on all the levels, giving the chance for Rex to recruit several astromechs to remove Cody's chip. Once he had awoken from his surgery, Cody looked dazed, as he couldn't believe he had thought about killing Rex, as they were disturbed by the voices of Fox's battalion. Rex realigned his ascension cable for their final climb, and as the clones continued their search, they were near the top when the rock face started to slide. Cody threw his own ascension cable onto a different section of the cliff, but the clones found themselves being dragged back to the floor. Angling their necks against the attack, they found that there was only one enemy moving on the ground, and it was Darth Vader, who had only recently been announced to the galaxy. Rex had seen enough of the Force to know it was useless to resist, so both clones decided to give in to Vader for now, as they were allowed to stand when they hit the ground. Commander Fox offered to execute the rogue clones, but Vader asked them to move aside, and once they moved back into the skies, the Sith Lord invited them to join him, as their knowledge could be useful to hunting any insurgents. The clones saluted in unison, but not for Vader, rather for what they believed in, and Vader soon began to invade the minds of the clones. It was only then Rex could see the man behind the mask, as he recognised the actions belonged to his old General Anakin Skywalker, and his head was almost taken off of his neck. Such were the forces from Vader in his shock. Cody begged for Vader to at least give them honourable deaths, and to their astonishment, Vader relented in order for Commander Fox to return. But as the clone gunship started to return to the floor, Vader was forced to shield himself as it detonated into thousands of shards. Through the fiery remains, Vader looked to see a T-6 shuttle, and at its helm was the one he wanted to be a Sith student, and it was his old Padawan Ahsoka Tano. That is it for part 2 of What If Darth Vader Upgraded His Suit. If you'd like to see a part 3 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.